How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about creepy Joe Biden. Not creepy Uncle Joe, just creepy. He ain't no kin to me. But we also got to talk about his senior advisor, Symone Sanders. Now, this person used to be the press secretary for Bernie Sanders, one of these pro-black type people. Will argue you on CNN about not being black enough, this, that, and the third. We'll talk about how, you know, the white man shouldn't be the face of the Democratic Party anymore, which is kind of weird because you went from working for one white man to another white man. But I digress. You got to see this interview on CNN. We're going to watch it together. She was confronted with the reality of Joe Biden's past. He wrote the 1994 crime bill that Slick Willie got much of the blame for, which he deserved. Slick Willie has come out and apologized for it and said that I know the bill that I signed into law increased the incarceration rate. Now, she's going to be confronted with that because it's like, okay, your guy wrote the crime bill, so how do you really square that? Let's get into this interview to see exactly how this whole thing played out.
President Clinton says that they were wrong about that. Senator Harris has said that it contributed to mass incarceration. Why is it Vice President Biden admitting what we're hearing from the former president?
That's a great question. If the person who signed the bill into law apologized for it, then why not the guy that wrote the bill? I mean, that'll just kind of make sense, right? They're both Democrats, both on the same team, both on the same side. So they should pretty much be in lockstep. But why not? Let's see what Symone Sanders says.
Well, look, I think we can go back to Vice President Biden's comments at the National Action Network breakfast in January, where he noted that the crime bill, by way of this disparity between crack and powder cocaine, trapped an entire generation of people. Look, I think many people will tell you across the country, Victor Black folks included, that the crime bill and the reaction to what was happening in the early 90s. Now, look, I was only about 3 or 4, but I'm a student of history. What was happening in the early 90s, the reaction was an overcorrection to a very real issue. But we are going to see some policy rollouts from our.
You kind of like just, rolling around trying to figure out a way to get out of this whole situation. Because here's the thing. Some would say that the crime bill reduced crime. Maybe it did. But people like Symone Sanders right here would be talking about, white man bad, orange man bad, this, that, and the third. So you can't have that same particular talking point, but at the same time be defending the crime bill. It doesn't make any sense. Either you're going to defend it or not.
Campaign very soon, Victor. I know folks have questions about what is Vice President Biden's criminal justice policy.
Is it now
and those are going to come.
Now the campaign's position that the crime bill did contribute to mass incarceration?
Victor, I think the vice president, his comments speak for themselves. What is very clear is
his comment was that it does not contribute to mass incarceration. The former president who signed it said it did.
Look, Victor, if we play the whole clip, what he also said was his comment was what he also said was.
You kind of you're not doing very well, Symone. You might want to just go ahead and back out. I don't even know why you took this job, because you knew, or maybe you didn't know, that when you would go on television and try to defend this man, the crime bill would be put right in front of your face. It's like, yo, your guy that you work for signed, well, not only signed, he wrote the crime bill. He authored it. The reason why so many black men got locked up is because of your man. Now, either you're going to say it was needed because it was so much crime, or you're going to say that it was bad and locked up too many black folks. You can't really be trying to ride the fence here, because that's your guy. If you're a regular person, you can ride the fence. But no, you are in politics, and the guy you work for wrote the crime bill, so you got to take a position on it one way or the other. If you take the negative position, then you can't work for him anymore. If you take the positive, it contradicts all of what you've been talking about on television for a very long time. But let's keep going.
That the majority of folks that are incarcerated were incarcerated at the state level.
And there's a reason for that. Let me put up the truth in sentencing incentives here.
And I mean, there is a reason for that.
But there's a reason. Let me put it up. Let me put it up on the screen, guys. The truth in sentencing section of the 1994 crime bill. This is page 21. It incentivized It offered billions of dollars to build new correctional facilities if states would increase the percentage of convicted violent offenders, increase the average prison time, increase the percentage of the sentence was there. Did this bill not incentivize putting more people in jail and keeping them there longer?
Well,
Victor, I am not going to sit here and tell you the crime bill was perfect. There were some really great preventative things that it did. It took on the NRA, and then there was an overcorrection. What you're describing was an overcorrection. There was a reach. Some folks went too far. The bill wasn't perfect. Republicans fought to put a lot of things.
Republicans, your guy wrote it. So don't try to say, okay, it was the Republicans that put a lot of things in there. Your guy wrote the bill. He signed off on it. He voted for it. Matter of fact, the guy used to work for Bernie Sanders also voted for it. So how do you really square this? You can't be on television talking about Trump's racist, orange man, bad, this, that, and the third, while he's trying to undo what your guy did and what your former guy voted for. Trump wasn't in office, so he didn't vote for it one way or the other. Your guy did. So how can you really what you should be doing is going to work for Trump. If you want to have prison reform and a lot of good things that your guy is against, do you know that I'm gonna get back on here. Hold on. Let me just get back on my regular. Do you know that Joe Biden said that George H.W. Bush was too soft on crime? George H.W., I mean, this was Ronald Reagan's vice president, said he was too soft on crime. I mean, listen, there is no reason for her to be out here trying to defend Joe Biden. Not at all. I don't even know why she would take that job. Maybe times is rough. You got to eat and you got to figure out a way to get yourself out there, keep your name alive, and be a force within the Democratic Party. I feel like she's just being used by them. And if I'm going to be out there talking about somebody, I'm going to have some conviction in my voice. I'm going to believe what I say. When I get on the camera all the time, talk right here in front of you guys, I can just talk straight from my heart. This is how I feel. You see her, she's bumbling and stumbling. If you're getting paid to be on TV and talking like that, you don't believe what you say. You don't have confidence in what you're saying. If you have confidence in what you're saying, it'll come out very smoothly. But she is not in that particular space. So I kind of feel for her, really. Maybe times is rough. She can go get a regular job somewhere else. Don't try to be on the camera. Don't try to be in them limelights, because this ain't really the place for you, especially when you are working with people that don't even have your best interests at heart. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Party. I mean, listen, you are getting kind of easy questions about the crime bill. That should have been the obvious one. But now you're going to get questions about gender identity, abortion, all kind of things that affect the black community. And shout out to CNN for really putting this out there. A lot of so-called progressives were applauding this as well, which kind of brings, a ray of sunshine across my face. It's music to my ears, because when I hear that, when I see that, I'm thinking, okay, if the Democratic Party is against her, because I found this on the Justice Democrats page, that is AOC's PAC. They brought her into the actual Congress. They're the ones that backed her. They're the ones that supported her. So if AOC's people are posting stuff like this and saying, look at what's going on, this ain't really the move, this ain't the wave, then you know that there's a fracture in the Democratic Party. They're going to work, the Democratic Party that is, against Joe Biden actively. So if that's happening, you have no unity. You have division. On our side, on the Republican side, it's pretty much going to be all chips in on Trump and Pence. That's what it's going to be. So we have more unity than they do. So Symone Sanders, thank you for doing what you do. You have just displayed how much the Democratic Party is divided and how far away from reality that your man Creepy Joe actually is. So what's next for you? I'm not really sure, because this will be a short-lived job. If I employed you to be my senior advisor and to go on TV and talk for me, you would get fired after this. You didn't do a very good job of convincing this man that what your man did was okay or it was right. Because you can't, at a certain point, you can't, because you got a particular brand you want to protect, and it's being destroyed by your current political affiliation. So that's pretty much all I got. What say you? Do you think that it's hypocritical for a person like Symone Sanders to be talking about orange man bad, police brutality, all this, that, and the third, while she works for the guy that wrote the 1994 crime bill? Also, previously worked for the guy that voted for it. I mean, what's really going on here? Or am I just being too hard on Symone Sanders? Should I just let her go? I shouldn't agree with any kind of Democrats. I think that the Democrats who are against her are right on this particular issue. I would not vote for any Democrat, regardless of whether I agree with one thing they say or not. But one thing I do like about this particular situation from the Democrats on that side is that it's causing division. It is going to be a thing that can't really be resolved in a short period of time. So that will allow us to have an easier path to 2020, 2024, Supreme Court justices, so on and so forth. But whatever your particular comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.